First, let's talk about what it is not.
Okay.
It does not change any current laws that are on the books. Okay?
Okay.
It does not circumvent any current laws on the books. So you cannot, I'll give an easy example, concealed carry. The concealed carry permit stays in place. The governing laws concerning the concealed carry permit stays in place. Now that is jurisdiction. For example, in Ohio, you can open carry until you get into a car, then that becomes a concealed carry. So that's when you take the gun apart, empty it, put the gun in the boot or in the trunk. Sorry.
No, I'm listening.
In the trunk, and then you put the ammunition somewhere else. That's in Ohio. Okay. Mm-hmm. Kentucky's a little bit different. Every state's a little different. South Carolina, open carry means open carry. Whether you're in your pickup truck or your car or whatever, if you're open carrying, and I had a holster that was on the side up here, and you could walk anywhere, anytime, in your car, in person, as long as your weapon was in open view.
Okay.
And so getting in the car wasn't exempt from that. In Ohio, it is. So when you get in the car, then you are now concealed. So it doesn't circumvent any laws, right? And it doesn't all of a sudden make background checks exempt, okay? So that's some of the things that it does not.
Because the background check is there. It's always been there, I think.
Yeah. Now, here's what it is. The resolution is showing solidarity. There are some legislations that are on the books that have the appearance to be unconstitutional. The number one issue is what's called red flagging. On its face, it seems like a good idea. Well, and they always say the road to somewhere is paved with good intentions, right?
Right.
So on its face, it seems like a good idea. And I liken it to a wellness check. If you have a person that's not answering their phone, you haven't heard from them in a few days, you can call the authorities and have a wellness check, and they will go out and check on them, especially if you're out of town, whatever. They'll check on, make sure everything's all right, and report back to you. We found them. They're fine. They've lost their phone, whatever.
Right.
Okay. The red flag is similar to a wellness check, but it is regards to regards to firearms. So this came as a result of the unfortunate Parkland shooting, Parkland, Florida shooting. And that young man was obviously mentally ill. He had very little guardianship, and he lived in a trailer, and he amassed a pretty, he had armory in this mobile home trailer. So those Parkland people lobbied for this red flag law that you should be able to call and say, I see something that is seems wrong, and then somebody go out and check it out. Same thing with San Bernardino. Well, we're going back to San Bernardino, but there was documented that the UPS driver that was bringing all these supplies in for them to make bombs and all this kind of stuff, explosives, the UPS driver went on record and said that he wanted to say something, but he was afraid he would get in trouble for racial profiling. But he felt like there was something wasn't exactly right with these deliveries and everything that was going on at that house. So you take San Bernardino and you take Parkland, and so they've come up with these red flag laws. And the red flag laws are highly contentious, depending on who you ask, because they can be abused. So I told you about the good part, right?
Right.
If see something, say something. If something's wrong, and you know there's firearms in the house, maybe you should.
Right.
Problem number one. What's the divorce rate right now?
It's at least
112,
50%. Oh, I don't know.
112%.
It's like 50%. You have a half and half chance.
So
See, I'm being positive.
every time, right? So every time that somebody, and it doesn't matter, man or woman, somebody gets upset with their significant other for the day, they can abuse this red flag system and say they're crazy and there's guns in the house. And then what happens is now you're taking resources from the officers who are already dealing with an opioid epidemic. Now we're going to put on them a firearm epidemic and try to do these wellness checks, or what's called the red flag warnings, on people. And then what happens is, under the legislation, is they come in just like a wellness check, remove the firearms from the house, and then give you a summons to go to court to prove that you are healthy, mentally stable or healthy, with the potential of getting your firearms back.
This is just as crazy as the restraining orders and all that stuff that takes place.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the reason. And then the second reason, and then I'll stop, is what's called an extended background check. An extended background check. Right now, the background checks go to criminal records. Okay, criminal records. They are wanting to extend the background checks to include your health records. Now, when you do that, first thing that pops up, HIPAA laws. You can't do HIPAA laws.
Right.
But those of you that are watching, how many of you, and this happened when I was going through, seeing doctors 3 times a week, going through the diagnosis of what's going on with me, so I know it's firsthand. It happened very, very often. You go to the doctor, and they'll ask you a couple of questions. Do you feel safe at your home?
Right.
Are you under any kind of threat? Do you feel any kind of threat at home? Right? Standard question. But then they started asking, the doctors started asking, are there any firearms in your home? Now, the first time a doctor asked me that, do you feel safe in your home? Yes. Is there anybody in your home that we need to be aware of or anything like that? No. Do you have any firearms in your home? What?
Right.
Well, I'm in here because I twitch. All right. It has nothing to do with what. Like, and this was now pushing 8 years ago. So when they started asking those questions and you started answering those questions, guess what? It started going into your health record. So now the extended.
And you've opened the door.
And you open the door, you told them.
Just telling you.
You don't have to answer anything, right?
That's like an interview, honest to God. You can do the same thing,
Yeah, I mean, Fifth Amendment says you don't have to answer anything. Right? You don't have to talk. We can do a whole show.
I just laugh.
So, those are the two resolutions that have really sparked the two-way movement. Okay? Red flag and extended background checks. So we're going to see more of these resolutions. It does not undo any laws that are already on the books. It's just showing solidarity within the county. That means in the city, you still can't discharge a firearm in the city because it's a part of the city ordinance. So don't just decide you're going to go squirrel hunting in Mountain Park, because it ain't going to work.
They got some fat ones over there too.
So it doesn't change any laws on the books. But what it does, it says that we as a county, Lawrence County, Greenup County right now, says that we are resolute that this is a sanctuary city, and we are not going to adopt anything that is unconstitutional.
Right.
And these red flag laws and these extended background checks are a little suspect. So that's where.
And I know that, and here's my take on all that. I know across the board, everybody wants everything to be the same in every city and every state.
Right.
But we all know just by other laws, you're not going to have everything that's going to be in every city and every state. There's going to be probably some exception to those rules depending on where you live and your geographic.
Sure.
And
it varies.
That's my outtake on it.
It's just like liquor laws. It varies state by state, county by county, township by township.
Right.
See? So,
I guess I say that because of the bigger picture. Everybody just thinks there's just one big picture.
Right.
And it's not like that.
Right. The Second Amendment is the one big picture.
Yeah.
All right. Now, all these things that you're trying to add to the Second Amendment, this is where some states are taking some authority and some states aren't. But now on the county level, they're making these resolutions that they are going to stick with the Constitution. So it's a hot topic issue right now. It probably will continue,
Oh, yeah.
probably for the rest of the year. But the catalyst behind it, and I'm not saying I'm for or against anything. I'm just telling you what started it. Right?
Right.
Is the amnesty for the extended background checks to include.
I mean, the people that we put in place, they do have to be mindful of these
red
things.
flag, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and if you look at it on the face, they both seem like legitimate. It sounds legitimate, but the more you dig into it and the fine tuner, you start looking at the actual wording, it gets a little scary. So this is what's causing people to have some pause. So, it's one of those things where we have that, but people need to understand what it means. It does not mean,
It's funny to think, you talk about, we'll say businesses even, and you look at the last 5 years, you look at 5 years ahead and where you think you're going to be at.
Right.
And then you think, take a law like this, and where's it going to be at in 5 years, just with all the other things that's going on. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And
Well, I have a feeling at the end of the day, the Second Amendment's going to win because it's the Constitution.
Right.
And if you take away, I did a thing for a podcast years and years ago, and I said, if you're not willing to stand up for the Second Amendment, you might as well go ahead and throw away your First Amendment while you're at it. Because the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment. The Second Amendment protects the Fourth Amendment. So, you can go all the way down through there. And Kathy Coleman also mentioned about tyranny. And the first thing they do is take away your guns. And she eloquently and bravely said that, which we covered. So, it's not a Republican Democrat thing, all right? We all live under the United States Constitution, and the Constitution is the Constitution.
And I think
people
that
need to quit messing. What do you just said a trigger word?
No, yes. No, the trigger is when someone says they're going to take something away from you. People get mad.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I think this has been.
You're not
going to take my guns.
You're not going to take my dog. You're not going to take my last piece of pie.
I'm just saying.
Not going. Right.
Right.
Okay.
I know we were trying to make light of it because I know that it has been a heated debate even on your on the website. I've seen some heated debates, and again, that's the First Amendment. We can all share our opinion and
see.
Woo-hoo.
You're welcome.
But if it made you a little more aware of what's going on, and
right, I thought there needed to be a little bit more clarification that what it doesn't do, and what the catalyst was, the trigger was those two, the extended background checks and the red flag laws, prompted some of these resolutions.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's some good.
All right, I'm out here. Peace.
You ain't getting off that easy.
Drop your microphone.
Yeah.